Hey everyone, it's Mr. Vargas here looking to help out Integrated Math 3, Homework 1.1, Expressions and Formulas. And I just wanted to go over a few of the problems from the homework assignment just to make sure you guys are headed in the right direction. Alright, so let's check out number 11. And 11 says, evaluate each expression if w equals -3, x equals 4, y equals 2.6, and z is 1/3. So I'm going to write all that stuff out. W equals -3, x equals 4, y equals 2.6, and z equals 1/3. Okay, so these are some ugly numbers, but we can still evaluate. Remember, evaluate always means to substitute and solve. So you're going to substitute in for your known variables, your known numbers, and then solve it on out. Let's take a look at number 11. Y plus x minus z. So here we would just take 2.6 plus my 4 minus 1/3, and that will get you 6.6 minus 1/3. It's probably best to convert that 6.6 to a fraction, which would be 6 3/5. Then you can take away 1/3. So here we'd need to make the denominators the same, and that would be 15. So we've got, the way I did that is I just multiplied 5 times 3 to get a common denominator. But whenever I change the bottom of the fraction, I got to change the tops. So I multiplied 3 times 5 to get 15, and then I multiplied 1 times 5 to get 5. And then here I multiplied 5 by 3 to get 15. So 3 times 3 is going to be 9. And that will get you an answer of 6 4/15. Alright, let's go ahead and jump to, how about number 16? 16 says you've got 3y minus 4z plus x, and we're going to use those same numbers to plug in. Here, just make sure when you plug in you do consider your coefficients or your scalars, meaning you will have to multiply by those numbers. So 3 times your y, which is 2.6, minus 4 times your z, which is 1/3. And then last but not least, you're going to add that to x, which is just 4. Alright, so if I multiply this bad boy 3 times 2.6, I'm going to get 7.8. And then when I multiply -4 times 1/3, just going to get -4/3 plus 4. Let's go ahead and change that 7.8 into a mixed number. 7 8/10. Go ahead and change that 4/3 to 1 1/3 plus 4. Okay, so let's make common denominators here and here. That would get us 30 on bottom for our fractions, meaning we would have to multiply this guy by 3, this guy by 3, so that would be 24. And then since we multiplied 3 by 10 to get 30, we'd multiply 1 by 10 to get 10. Alright, we can write everything else. Alright, now let's go ahead and simplify. Almost forgot my 1 right there. Okay, let's go ahead and simplify. So we can add up our whole numbers first, or combine our whole numbers. So 7 minus 1 plus 4 would equal 10. And then you can go ahead and take your fractions and subtract those. So 24 minus 10/30. Denominators are the same, so we can just go ahead and subtract those, and you get 14/30. Simplify, and your final answer is 10 7/15. Very nice. All right, let's go ahead and look at the challenge problem. I'm sure we'll revisit this in class tomorrow. But here, this is a challenge. So here we've got M, N, P, and Q. And these bad boys are all elements of Blackboard Z+. Remember Z, Blackboard Z stands for the integers. And since we're working in Z+, that means we're only caring about the positive integers. And our challenge is to find a number in terms of M, N, P, Q that is halfway between M over N and P over Q. Okay. And there's something that's a little bit fancy about this, but if you've ever thought about it, the average of two numbers is basically the halfway point. So for example, if I have 20 and 30, if I take the average of these two numbers, right, the average would be the sum over the number of numbers. But if I took the average of those two numbers, it would be 20 plus 30 divided by 2, and that would get me 50 over 2, which would be equal to 25. And as you can see, 25 is exactly halfway in between 20 and 30, right? So we can do the same thing with these numbers that they've given to us that we don't really know the value of, but we do have their variable representations. So that would look like this. We would just take 1/2, or basically you're dividing by 2 here, 1/2 times the sum of those numbers. And then we can actually simplify within our parentheses. So let me go ahead and do that. Find common denominators. Basically, you would just multiply n times q. So you get nq on the bottom, nq on the bottom. Whatever we multiply the bottom by, we got to also do by the top. So since this guy had an n but didn't have a q, and I multiplied by q, that means I got to multiply that top guy by q. So you're going to have mq. And then this one, same kind of game. This guy had a q, he didn't have an n, so I multiplied q by n to get nq. I'm going to multiply the top by that n as well. So you get pn. Okay. Now you have common denominators, so you can actually go ahead and add. You can add nq stays on the bottom, and then mq plus pn is just written like this. mq plus pn. And then we've got times 1/2. Now we can simplify that down to the final answer. Whenever we multiply fractions, we multiply straight across the top, straight across the bottom. 1 times anything is just itself across the top, so we would just get mq plus pn divided by 2 times nq, which is just 2nq. So there you go. That is the number halfway in between mn and pq. Hope you enjoyed that challenge. See you guys in class.